Hello and welcome to this brief overview of the Getting Started in Private Practice training. That's a 5-week consecutive training course. It's first being run in April. It starts on April the 8th at 3 o'clock and for 90 minutes. And that's on a Monday. And then each Monday for the next 5 Mondays, we'll be getting together and going through the training. So today I'm going to give you an overview of the training and what's included if you choose to come with us. So let me share my screen. Pull it up. Here we go. So this is me, Sarah Rees. I'm a CBT therapist, but also do EMDR and CFT as well. So welcome today. I really appreciate your time, and today should take about 20 minutes to kind of run through this. And if you have any questions, you're more than free to email me at inquiries@sarahrees.co.uk, or you can go through my website, or if you're in the Community Therapist Corner on Substack, you can direct message me now on there, or there's the chat function as well. So lots of ways to get in touch if questions or thoughts arise as I'm going through this. So why I've developed this course, I basically spent 2023 writing a book, The Therapist Guide to Private Practice, Building a Values-Based Business. So that's what I was doing last year. It's due to come out in about summertime of 2024. Very excited about that. So I spent a lot of time with my head thinking about private practice and setting it up, what would I have done differently, and kind of getting that framework together for the book. And I thought, actually, people might want the support of going through the training with somebody who's been there and gone before them, made all mistakes, so you can learn from my mistakes and just take a shortcut to setting up in private practice, basically. So the main problem that I've found for therapists, counsellors and coaches and health professionals looking to set up in private practice is there's a real lack of focused business training out there. It's not generally included in much of our educational stuff. They teach us the therapy, but they don't necessarily teach us how to take that and turn it into a business. I think for some life coaches, they have some elements in their training, but generally that's not out there. It's not available. And for launching the book, I reached out to a number of universities. I think I reached out to about 100 different training courses and said, I'm launching a book. I'd love to come and talk to your students about getting started in private practice. And I had one reply, and that was from Bolton University. So I'll be going there in a few months and talking to their students. But I can just see that it's just not on their agenda, because I think curriculums are just so tightly packed as it is. There isn't much space. The other area that I see that's a problem for people getting set up in private practice is avoiding the planning generally and around financial strategy. And I think that's because lots of the business plans that have been devised are for more of the corporate sector, not necessarily for healthcare professionals. So we just don't identify with them and we don't see ourselves in them. And that's why I've created a business plan template and, done a lot of work to help people kind of see themselves in the business planning, because business planning and getting a really solid foundation for your business is absolute paramount in building a resilient and sustainable and successful private practice, and getting the finances right is a huge part of that. So the better we can do on the bottom layer, just like in therapy, the more we kind of focus on the assessment, the more quality information that we get, the better our plan is. It's exactly the same in business. So you can kind of match therapy onto business growth. Who would have thought? But we do have lots of skills as therapists and coaches and counsellors that we think are different from running a business, but actually we can definitely apply them. There's a huge rise of third parties coming into the market, and it feels often like an easy win to just sign up with these third party referral companies because it's little energy on our part. And then you can start generating an income quite quickly. And then I think people get a little bit tired of working in this way because it's kind of like being employed by 10 bosses instead of one, with lots of different systems. People get overwhelmed with paperwork. The rates are not as good as if you were working with self-funding clients. So often people that kind of start out this way and then decide that they actually want to work differently. And that means they have to come back to their drawing board with their business to move away from working with third-party referrals, agencies, and kind of attracting more self-funding clients. I think working with referral agencies, it's definitely how I started out. If I could go back, I wouldn't have done it. But I know lots of people that use a bit of a hybrid model in setting up in private practice, and then they kind of choose what's right for them. And I do know some people that just work with a number of third parties, the ones that they like, they get to know, and that works for them. So there's lots of different ways to build your business. I think there's a general lack of confidence in building a business, especially if we've never done it before. You just don't know. And, we've created a checklist for getting started in private practice. You get a copy of that when you join Therapist Corner. And it can feel overwhelming. There's so much to consider and think through. And that can be one of the blocks to kind of setting up in private practice. Setting the wrong fee, I see this time and time again because I think healthcare is just not valued. And we don't always see our worth, and this can mean that we set the wrong fee. We set a fee that's related more towards mindset and how we feel about money and what we would pay, rather than thinking about it from a business mind, where it's just based, you need to set a fee based on the figures and the facts and the type of business you want to grow. So that's another area of concern that I see. I think lots of people don't invest in a business that they're setting up. And most businesses, when they are setting up, they do have some initial investment into that business. And then over the time, they get the results. It just takes a while to see those results. But you can't invest nothing in setting up private practice and then expect high growth or high return on no investment. So there does need to be some kind of investment in a business, especially if you want to attract self-funding clients. Even if that's not financial, there is an investment in time and your energy as well. There's a lack of trust around the demand out there. I think we all know the stigma's reducing around mental health. More people are looking for therapists and therapy and different ways to access support for their mental health. But unless you've actually felt it, it's difficult to know there's a demand out there. And I think there's lots of therapists that are struggling to set up in private practice and can be giving off this sense of there's no clients out there, nobody wants therapy, the market's too saturated, when actually that is not the case at all. And the other issue is that organisational demands are high for therapists, coaches and counsellors. If we work in the NHS, to work in those organisations is really not sustainable for many of us because of our own mental health needs. So some people are choosing to move away from those services, or to have more of a hybrid working model where you work part-time in an organisation and then part-time in private practice, which is what I did for a little bit of time as well. So this is some of the elements that brought me towards developing this 5-week getting started in private practice course. Of course, I could have written a 52-week course because I've spent so much time focusing on setting up in private practice over the last couple of years. I've been in private practice for about 10 years now, 10 years plus, I think. I don't like to say exactly. I started off, I was in an IAP service, and then I reduced my hours, started working with referral companies, threw kind of everything at it. And then over time, came away from the NHS, and then quite quickly realised that I was very busy, but I was very busy working with lots of referral companies, overwhelmed with all the paperwork demands, felt like I had 10 bosses, most of whom were quite rude to me. And I decided that I wanted to work with self-referring clients, which I have done now for kind of getting on for 10 years. And I've been fully packed all throughout that, even through COVID. It did change a lot in COVID when the pandemic hit, but I had a lot of the foundations of stuff in place, which meant that my practice was resilient, so it didn't get affected. And I would say that I earn double what I would if I worked in the NHS. Of course, I have different overheads, but it is more financially rewarding, but it does take more of time commitment as well. But you can work more flexibly, which is a bonus. So it really kind of depends what you're looking for. But the benefits are absolutely out there. So when I was writing the book, I really thought about my route to setting up in private practice and how I went about doing that, and how it should be done, and how the course is set up is to kind of match this framework, in that I'm guessing if you've watched this, you've kind of decided that private practice is for you, if not now, maybe in the future. So you're on the path to making that decision. Once you've made that decision, that's your first step. And then it's about really defining what you want your business to look like. What is it? Getting a really clear vision for that. And then organising what you need to have in place to reach that vision, setting out your objectives, navigating them all, so prioritising which objectives you should be focusing on first, and then negotiating your way through, kind of working with referral companies or your location where you're going to be based. There's lots of negotiations as you kind of mold and shape your business, and then you execute and then examine, much like a therapy roadmap. You go through all the different elements, setting a good foundation in terms of an assessment, put together the roadmap of what treatment would look like, and then keep reviewing and examining that the work you're doing with your clients is being effective. You do that in private practice. The way many of us set up in private practice, though, is to just execute, just go for it. So we throw out a website that tries to attract everybody, and that's certainly what I did, and you end up attracting absolutely nobody because it's not tied in with your vision or who you are as a therapist. So we execute, then we examine, and then we navigate, negotiate, and then we have to organise, then we set our objectives, and then we start defining. I set up my business like that, and I don't want you to do it, because it's very expensive way to set up your private practice, and it's very time consuming as well. So I'm going to take you through the roadmap. If I was going to start up my private practice again, exactly how I would do it. So it is an investment in your time taking a course and financially, but you should recoup those costs because you're going to make fewer mistakes and you're just going to get up and running a lot quicker. Okay. Okay, so who am I? So hopefully many of you will know who I am. So I'm Sarah Rees, and my background's in mental health nursing. I did that for about 14, 15 years, worked in most of the hospitals, lots of community settings. I ran the South Manchester Primary Care mental health team for a while, until I discovered that management was not for me. And I then went and trained as a CBT therapist. I had done training courses in counselling prior to that, and I'd done a degree in psychological interventions. I then trained in EMDR, and one of the first things I did when I went into private practice was I did the CFT diploma with Professor Paul Gilbert, and I now supervise on his diploma. So that's me in the corner there with Paul Gilbert and Wendy Wood and Julia Val, who has done lots of research. So I go to the conference every year, and that was, one of the main reasons that I kind of decided to leave the NHS at that point was that they just wouldn't fund the training that I wanted to do. And, you know, or give me the time, because it was a huge time commitment, and it's one of the best things I ever did. And now I've worked for the foundation on a part-time basis, just as a contractor delivering supervision. So it's been very rewarding to kind of choose my path in terms of the self-development that I want to do. I run with my partner, Sophie, that's us at the bottom. We developed a number of years ago Pocket Site, which is a website builder for therapists, because what we found is that lots of therapists struggle with the IT side of things, or they set up websites that are not haven't got the SEO, so they don't show up on Google. So you can have a beautiful website, but if nobody can find it, then it's not that much use. So Sophie's got a 25-year history of working in IT and corporate and designing websites, and she's a graphic designer, and she used to work in banking. Now she works for a big company doing lots of the big brand websites part-time, and then she does part-time, she runs Pocket Sites and does lots of healthcare professional websites. And during GDPR, because her background was security, there was a lot of anxiety within the healthcare settings around GDPR and the way we had to manage data. And we set up lots of products during that time so that therapists could kind of meet data protection compliance. So that's how we kind of work together. We've recently set up your private practice in a day program, which is where we kind of do the course and setting up people's websites in one full day. There is a little bit more to it than that, in that we have a 90-minute session beforehand with people, and there's work that me and Sophie do behind the scenes, but effectively three of us work on your business. So me, Sophie, and you work on your business in one day, and we get you up and running in that day. So by the end of the day, you've got a website ready to take referrals, you've got your business plan in place, your marketing strategy, a lot of your business strategy in place, and a plan for the next 3 months. And that's been going very well. We only have time to do about one a month, and we know that it's for a very niche kind of amount of people. So it's absolutely, you've got to be very good at making quick decisions, be very motivated. It's not going to be for everybody, and we know that most people want to take a slower path and spend more time thinking about it. But if I was starting over again, I would have wanted it up, run, and to the best of my ability in one day, because then from that day one, you can start getting referrals in. So whilst it's a higher upfront cost, because you can start making money quite quickly, that there's benefit in that. We found that most therapists take between kind of 6 to 12 months to fully set up in private practice, to get their website content written, and there's lots of little blocks that kind of slow them down. And of course, during that time, you're not making any money. So it's a very, expensive way to do it, really. But everybody's path is very different. I think our businesses need to feel like home and feel really comfortable. So you have to choose what's the right path for you. And last year, the book cover is due to be released very soon, but I wrote a book for the publisher Routledge, which will be out later this year. I run a podcast, Ask the Therapist, which has been really good in terms of my visibility, but also means that I have a really good excuse to reach out and to have some brilliant conversations with people that I wouldn't otherwise have an excuse to reach out for them. So I've really thoroughly enjoyed that. I've also done lots of blogging over the time that I've been in private practice, and that led to my book deal. It's led to me being featured in magazines and documentaries and got my visibility up there, which has been good for me. So rather than focusing too much on social media, I have kind of focused a lot on creating good content for my website. And I'm also a fur mum to Doris Frank and Harry Cat, who wasn't on that particular walk. So that's Doris and that's Frank there. Okay, so I want you to think for a moment, what would your life look like if you ran your own business on your own terms? I would hope that if you're considering it, that you have a really clear vision of what it's going to look like, and that you hold that vision in mind, because there can be things that derail you and you can find yourself very, very busy. Of course, you'll notice that I'm not in the Barbados on a hammock yet, but I do have a lot more freedom, a lot more flexibility in my working life. My income's an awful lot bigger than what it would be if I worked for an organisation, which gives me choice and more choices in how I run my life, where we go on holiday, where we live. It's made a huge impact. And I, am probably starting to move away now from working to the one-to-one model and working more to the one-to-many and doing group work, which will hopefully free up my time more. Because whilst I love delivering therapy, I do it about 3 days a week now. I see about 10 to 15 clients, just purely because of the demand. I would like to see about 10, I think, between 5 and 10 a week would be lovely. I want my therapy to be a real treat, because I think it takes a lot of emotional energy. We have to keep ourselves at the top of our game. You have to be in a good headspace to deliver excellent therapy. And we don't, if we're too focused on our business or we're overwhelmed with our business, that is going to affect how we show up as therapists. So I hopefully come in and help you be able to navigate your business so that it streamlines stuff, so that you can focus on exactly what you love doing, which is delivering outstanding therapy. But it is nice to think about what you want when you run your own business. How would you like your life to look, your family life? You don't have to ask for annual leave anymore. Very nice. So setting up in private practice empowers therapists to create a fulfilling business that aligns with their passion, allowing you to live a life that you love while making a significant impact on your own terms, which is absolutely true. So if when I ran this live, lots of people were asking me for the link for the Set Up Your Private Practice in a Day program. It is very limited in that we can only do one a month. So, if it might be for you, do get in touch. There's an application form to go through on this page. Let me just check it's working. So I'm sure you're all familiar with QR codes. If you're not, just go to the camera, open the camera on your phone and put it over the QR code, and it will take you to the homepage. You can find out more about it, and there's a button to apply. We have a 20-minute call with you to make sure we can all work together, and we think that you're the right fit for it. And then if you are, we set up the day then. So even if you thought in 6 months' time this might be something that you want to do, it might be worth booking it in earlier rather than later. So because it does take, although it's one day for me and Sophie, it's one day out of our businesses, and we both put about another 8 hours before the actual day, into getting the day perfect. Because it's a lot to do in a day, but if you want to get out there quickly, it's the way forward. And then I think if you do the day, I'm wondering, I think, I'm saying this out loud now, but I think what we will do is give you access to this training course as well, because although we speed you through everything in a day, it is nice then sit back and kind of learn the kind of training and the foundations of building a private practice at a slower rate as well. So if you purchase that program, you'll automatically get the recording of or come into the live sessions of the 5-week programme. So week 1 of the Getting Started in Private Practice starts on the 8th of April. A week before this, I'll send out a welcome video and a business plan template for people to start having a look at. So you can start getting an overview of what's included and what kind of things you need to start thinking about as well. So you can start playing around with ideas, and it starts to give you a framework as well of what the roadmap's going to look like. In the first session, it will be an orientation to the course, and we'll go through the done model in a lot more detail, because I want you to feel like private practice is absolutely achievable and it's going to be sustainable, and you're going to be able to do it in a way that's successful for you and resilient. There'll be a roadmap of the training each week with a checklist of what we've covered and things that you need to do in between the weeks. So there will be homework, because I'm a CBT therapist and I can't have any kind of session without a little bit of homework. So the more you engage in the work in between sessions, the better. But it's not a race to the finish line, so you will have all the information to keep coming back to at different points, and you'll get the recording as well of the 90-minute sessions to listen back to in your own time if you can't make it live. So when we start a training course, we want to have a very clear destination. So that's why I've just a moment ago got you thinking about the vision of what your private practice will look like, and we will explore each other's aspirations as well and be able to share ideas. We're going to explore your uncertainties, fears and worries that the people doing the course have got. And because although there is a framework for what I'm going to take you through, I want to tailor this to the needs of the people on the course. So, you will be able to input your knowledge and your questions, and what's important to you will be focused on as well. And then your homework will be the business plan and doing more work around discovering your why. In week 2, which will be the following Monday, 3 till 4:30, 90 minutes again, we're going to really nail down the business planning essentials, which is like creating having a really good assessment of your business, so you're getting a solid foundation in place for which your business will grow from. We'll go through some of the practicalities, like how to create a business name, what your structure would look like, the business structure. So will you be a self-employed sole trader or do a limited company? I've done both. There's pros and cons for doing both. I can talk you through that. Kind of really nail down your location about where you work. I do a hybrid of online, face-to-face. I think lots of people are wanting to build just online therapy practices now, which is absolutely achievable, but you really need to focus on kind of getting visibility in the right way. So we're going to help you kind of do that if you're setting up an online business solely. It's a little bit easier sometimes when you do some face-to-face, but not necessarily, and there's lots of costs in having an office. Like, this is my Wilmslow office I'm in at the moment. It's nice and expensive. So we're going to really nail down your marketplace position, where you want your business to sit in the marketplace, whether you're going to be a budget practice that offers low cost therapy, or you're going to kind of be in the middle area, or you want to work with high-end clients, because you need to know your marketplace position, because you'll then build your business around that. If you want to build a budget therapy practice, you need to keep your costs really, really minimal, and you really need to focus on that. If you want to focus more on high-end clients, there needs to be more investment. You need to be more strategic about it. It takes a little bit more time, a bit more energy. Certainly achievable, but it's a very different business model. And when you're in the middle, sometimes when you're in the middle, you can become quite invisible. So wherever you want to place your business is totally up to you. You'll probably have a sense about where you want your therapy practice to sit in the marketplace. Each requires different requirements and a different kind of mindset. And one of the common problems is that people have no idea of where they have a sense that nobody can afford therapy, which is not the case at all. You know, we live in a very overpopulated world. There's people on all types of wages. We've no idea what people's incomes are, what people can afford. So there's people and clients looking for support and looking for therapists at every kind of place in the market, but you need to be really clear about where you position yourself. And that goes for niche identification as well, because the more we can streamline the vision of our private practice and we can be really clear and have a lot of clarity around it, that is shown in your marketing message, and the ideal clients that are right for you as a therapist and right for your business will find you. So clarity is key, really, and I'm going to help you get that clarity. Strategic planning we're going to go through, and setting very clear goals to kind of work on. So you know exactly the steps. You won't be overwhelmed with the information and the steps you can take. Week 3 will be legal matters, and I will definitely not make it boring for you. We're going to go through what policies that you should have in place. A lot of the policies I can share with you. CPD training requirements you should have in place as standard. We're going to go over GDPR compliance and data protection, so how to store your notes and keep things secure. Talk about therapy agreements, and I've got templates to share with you, so you're not creating all this stuff from afresh. You'll have it ready to go. And we'll talk about kind of the insurances you need as well, like professional liability. Week 4, we're going to go deeper into the money matters of things. We'll look at mindset blocks that come up, because we all have kind of money stories that we align ourselves with, and sometimes we need to kind of reflect on what those are for ourselves so they don't inform our business too much. We're going to really look at setting the right fee so that you have a financially stable and resilient business as well. It really takes some thought. Once you get this right, you just replicate it and you won't come unstuck with your practice fee, which I completely undercharged initially. And it just has, you know, it's such hard work, and you put in so much work and then you're not getting the right wage out of it, because even if you charge £100 per hour, you only get a small portion of that when you look at what is involved in the cost of a full therapy hour. So you really need to get clear on that. We're going to go through what your tax obligations are, financial planning, sustainability and profitability. I will recommend that you get financial advice from a professional, and you work with an accountant. I wish I'd done that from the start, but I can give you a good overview. We'll go through bank accounts, putting in place non-payment policies, and I think I mentioned that on the last slide about insurances, but there are other insurances like income protection that I can go through that you should have to make sure that you're protected against the worst case scenario. You're going off sick, you have it needing an operation, or, you know, God forbid, anything unpleasant happening, which means that you need to kind of shut down your business or put your business on hold for a while. So we will be going through therapeutic wills as well. So week 5 will then be, you'll be then ready to start building a caseload. This bit, whilst it can seem like this is where we start focusing all our energy on, we're going to do this at the end, because now you have everything in place, this bit will flow a lot more seamlessly. So there's many different ways to build a private practice and start getting referrals in. I often say, hear people say, do I need to do everything on social media? Do I need a TikTok account? You absolutely don't need these things. If you hate social media, you don't need to use social media. So you can breathe a sigh of relief. You will not be dancing on TikTok, don't worry. I definitely have. And the other thing with building a business on social media is that it's not your platform, you don't own it, so it's not the most resilient. Ideally, it's about having your own website, and that you kind of have that as your main hub, and then and then have other drivers to bring people to your website as your main platform. And how you build your caseload is going to be dependent on kind of what you want your business to look like. There are many different avenues, so we're going to go through them all. And the main aim is to have a clear strategy to avoid the boom and bust, which I definitely got caught in a lot, where I'd do a lot of work on marketing, then get really busy, I'd let it all go, and then I'd have no referrals, and it would be very up and down. We want you to be a lot more smoothly with regular referrals, maybe a few people on a waiting list, and then you have a really resilient caseload. And we're going to give an overview of other streams of revenue as well, which you might be interested in. And then if you are thinking what next, in Therapist Corner, we have the founding members level, which is, we are slowly developing it at the moment, but that is going to be for people who solely want to work with self-referring clients. And that's going to be going to some of these areas a lot more deeper. So that's something we'll talk about at the end of this course. But that's for people that are kind of got things pretty much set up. You can have a look at that in Therapist Corner if you've not heard about it before. So an overview of this course, the Getting Started in Private Practice 5-week course, is that there's 5 consecutive weeks of 90-minute sessions, lots of times to ask questions. You're going to get lifetime access. So I'm going to record it and put it on a platform so you can watch it back. And as we develop the course, because it's in its early days at the moment, you'll get access to everything we add into it as well. You're going to get at least a month's time in Therapist Corner, which is the community arm of the course, where there's additional Q&A sessions and the community chat, which you can be a part of and ask all your questions in there as they come up over the week. And at least £100 worth of products and templates and resources that you know, we're going to be making sure that you have exactly what you need to kind of get set up and running, a good foundation of stuff. And it's risk-free in that if you come to the orientation week where I go in a little bit deeper about what I'll be delivering and you think this is not for me, it's not going to serve me in the way that you need serving, you can have a full refund and walk away. So I hope you found that useful. And this is the QR code, so pause me now if you want to take a picture of that and go to the landing page that's on my website at the moment. We're still deciding where we're going to kind of properly host it, but that will give you a lot more information, and you can apply. Just send me an email through my website and I can send you out an invoice. We're setting up the facility to pay on the landing page at the moment, but you'll be growing with us if you join us in these early years of the course, and we're very excited to have you with us. So, and I should say that, you know, if there is a need, if you are very interested in websites and stuff, Sophie will be coming in and chatting about websites and SEO and all stuff like that. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Any questions?